Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to what is probably going to be my first podcast style recording. Technically, this is just a lore dump of everything with my characters, or my immortals, as I call them. But I'm just going to be playing Minecraft, giving you all the information, and more or less just telling you about them. I am the Immortal Cult, and let us begin this lore dump. So, first off, my characters were first made when I was about 13. That's when I first started making them, at least. I am 19, but I won't say more than that. So, but I have worked on these guys since then, and I've changed a lot, added stuff, removed facts, changed timelines, all to perfect them. And now I've started posting the various YouTube shorts, if you check on my YouTube channel, that give you a bit of tidbit of their personalities and such. But today we're going over a bit of my lore, and not their lore. So let's start with that. My character, the Immortal Cult, is more like a kind of a creature that watches over multiple dimensions. He protects them and ensures that no two beings with power to destroy a dimension interact with malicious intent. So basically, he just prevents the big, strong people from causing more pain and destroying dimensions, and prevents the collapse of what is called the Infiniverse, which that in itself is a multiverse of multiverses. So think of to explain it, think of two different fandoms you like. And then think of them interacting and making that your own type of canon world. That's kind of what the Infiniverse is, where characters from other shows, games, etc. interact. It is where every creature, every being, every entity, every monster, or hero, villain, anything you can think of, interacts with each other. It's also where our story more or less takes place. To give you a kind of visual representation of the place, I want you to picture this. Think of our galaxy as the various image, or whatever way you imagine it. It could be your room, your town, heck, even just the picture of the Milky Way. I want you to envision that. Now, think of a portal opening up in your room, next to you. Inside, you see the exact thing you're imagining, but just a little bit different. A chair may be out of place, or building in a different spot than what it usually is. Or even just a star moved over by 10 degrees in the night sky. Those portals are kind of like mini gateways. They let you see through it. They sometimes let you cross through them too. But they take you to a place that you can only see in your dreams or your imagination. Yes, that may sound cheesy. Roll with me here. But the Infiniverse itself is more so just kind of like, I can't exactly say names of games and such like I want to here, because various rules and restrictions and such. But think of it like those games where You can dress up your avatar or make your character. And think of games where you can become other characters from different fandoms. That is what it is, essentially. It is those interactions that people have within those games, whether you're role playing as your favorite character or just talking to someone in an avatar from a different franchise. Those interactions are what the Infiniverse is. Now, there's also a realm that I have called Immortalia. Yes, name I have not changed since 13, and it's kind of cringe. I get it. I get it. You don't need to put it in the comments. But Immortalia is kind of like a central hub, a place where people can gather and share stories of their home dimension, or talk about their culture, their beliefs, everything. It's a place where no laws exactly exist except for the golden rule to treat others how you would like to be treated. And everyone can either deal with their problems themselves or ask for help. It is more or less not essentially a utopia of freedom, but kind of like a dimension of, say, Minecraft, actually. When you get into the world, you're free to do whatever you wish. You can build, you can explore, you can do whatever. That's what it is. It is that freedom to do what you wish without much consequence other than someone retaliating against you. Yes, your actions will affect those within the realm. And yes, things can go bad very quickly. So that's why I have my 5. Flaum, Dark, Glitch, Leonidas, and Blatheme. Those 5 are parts of me, in a way. Or parts of my character, but potato, potato, I say. But they are the ones who help make sure that my kingdom, my land, my pocket dimension, all of the above are correct representations of, or a correct way of describing Immortalia. It is essentially my own little realm that I govern and control and all that. But anyways, those 5 have come from other realms, but they are other lesser versions of me that have existed for as long as I have. Well, technically some a little older, a little younger, but I won't get into the nitty-gritty details of it all. Just know that, 1, they are more or less around my age, or look that way, and 2, they are technically my brothers, in the sense of they are very close to my character. But they each have their own stories, which I will let them tell in due time. And they all have their own goals, their own dreams, their own plans in what they wish to do with their infinite time that they have. The only thing that kind of separates all of us is our experiences. Many of us have been through great pain and suffering, especially Glitch. Well, can't say especially Glitch, because he did even though he did go through a lot, he's not exactly the one with the worst pain that 5 of them have felt. But he is the one that is more sensitive and chaotic. and just in general unpredictable. But all of them have been kind of, let's see, how do I word this right? All of them have been the ones to really govern Immortalia. They're always there when a person needed them. They've always been the first to come to my aid whenever I needed them, and are often the ones who help clean up problems that other people have faced in the realm, and are the first people to beat up people when they start doing wrong and being dumb. Of course, dumb is a subjective term, but still. They're the first to respond, more or less. More or less. More or less. Blech. Sorry. But it's kind of just, in a way, it's a place of freedom. Where anyone can do whatever. You can judge people, yes. You'll get mad. You'll get them mad, and if you say the wrong thing, the person can probably beat you up, but still, anyone can technically enter the realm. All you have to do is just close your eyes and see yourself there. Now, it is also kind of, I say kind of in the center of the Infiniverse. It's in the center, give or take a couple feet. Yeah, there is a quote I would like to say, but I can't do that. That's something that I've told my friends and people who are close to me about it. But it's very close to the center of the Infiniverse. I will say that. But to describe the actual kind of city itself, it is a giant city divided into 3 parts with a spiraling tower that has red, yellow, black, and purple colors swirling up from the base. Now, to enter it, you technically can just walk through a doorway at the bottom. Yeah, but it can also be entered through other means of the balcony on the top that allows those who can fly to just land up there. Of course, the door up there could be locked. It couldn't. I don't know which. Or you could just outright climb in through a window. Anyway, technically, I'll be able to know when you enter my tower. But that's where I spend most of my time, watching over the realms, making sure nothing happens that could cause the end of the Infiniverse, and keeping an eye on other various artifacts and creatures. Next, we could go down the tower, I guess, to kind of give you a layout of what is technically my personal home. Then I'll talk about the individual districts a bit. Next, we have in my tower the vault. This houses artifacts that I have deemed too dangerous to be circulating around the Infiniverse. So, not necessarily stuff you would think of, more just stuff that I have made or I have heard other people make that I would deem way too powerful to circulate around a infinite multiverse with people who can easily abuse said power and destroy. So it's more or less locked away until I can find a way to destroy the item, or until I can find a way to safely use it and reintroduce it back into the Infiniverse. For the most part, when something enters the vault, it disappears from existence in the Infiniverse. So, say I put a rock that could kill anyone just by throwing it at someone, just to spitball ideas of what I could do. I would take that rock from its home dimension, and I would put it in the vault, thereby removing it from any other dimensions that it could appear in, and kind of taking its core existence and sealing it away. That's how the vault works. Then there is the training grounds. And I'm going from top to bottom, so we have the landing balcony at the top, then the vault, then the training grounds below it. Now, the training grounds is kind of interesting because you wouldn't tell it's on that level. When you get in there, it looks like a wide open and empty field that you can technically call any weapon that you have knowledge of existing to appear on the weapon rack next to the door. You just have to touch the rack, and the weapon appears hanging on there. You could summon guns, knives, whatever type of weapon you could think of. You can activate what I like to call mirror mode, where it creates a mirror image of yourself, and it does the exact same attacks. That way you can hunt for flaws within your own fighting style. You can use it to help prepare counterattacks against yourself. Or you can even use it to summon other creatures and people you know. Like, if I was to use it, I could summon Flaum, and it would fight exactly like how Flaum has used it. So in a way, mirror mode is both a kind of saving your style and fighting into its pattern, into its memory, but it's a mixture of magic and technology that Glitch, Dark, and I have made. It's confusing for the most part, but it works. In terms of just, it's a good way of training. Then there is also fighting an Enderman, sorry. There we go. Then there's also, within the training grounds, the terrain modification system. Or the TMS, as we in Immortalia like to call it. It just kind of allows you to build a model of your training ground. If you look to the left of the door, it would be a little model with a book. You kind of write in the book what you want, and then or you can even draw the image of what you want itself on there. Either way, it's just, you take it, you draw on it, and then you get it. And then it creates the whole landscape. But there's also armor racks to grab armor from any dimension, all that stuff. And then, moving on from there, you have my armory, or technically armory slash forge area. I'm not the best in terms of blacksmithing. There's another immortal that's better at it, and would have way more powerful weapons compared to me. I will admit that. But either way, it's where I forge my weaponry, take my armor, and create all my gear. It's also kind of where I tend to hang out when I need to be alone. Place where I just take the heat of the forge and shape it into a weapon. And take any emotion I'm feeling and shape it into a weapon. I don't think that's a good practice in blacksmithing. I'm not sure. I don't blacksmith. I just create stories and such. But either way, it's where I go when I need to just calm my mind or deal with stuff that I'm having trouble with. Then there is my room right below my forge. Uh, it's got my gaming setup, or my dream gaming setup, I should say. Currently, I don't have what one would consider best gaming setup, but a good one nonetheless. It also has my bed, my collection of stuff that I've got over my travels across the Infiniverse. What else? It has a kitchen. Yeah, the kitchen's in the same floor as my room, where I cook meals for me and and the Immortals, and a couple other things, but I can't think of them right now. But it has a lot of stuff in there. I like to keep myself occupied with some fun stuff. Where else is there in the tower? There's a bunch of different levels for magic, kind of like an magic testing room where I can practice magic from other dimensions. Library full of books that I've collected and stolen and just all around gathered. There is what else is there? That's all I can think of right now within the tower. So I guess I'll move on to I guess I can move on to the Wolven District. So the Wolven District is where Flaeum, Leonidas, and Blatheme are from. Now, those are technically what I call animalians. They are demi-human by nature, where they have human features, but they have wolf tail and ears. They are... Their story, again, will be told by them, but for the most part, the district is more high fantasy, magic, and all that type of fun stuff. There is Flame's Tavern, Latheme's vampiric cave slash winery. Yes, he does winery in a cave. Then there's Leonidas's church, where he more or less does all his his stuff, and also where he tends to, and where most of the people in Immortalia get married if they choose to get married within Immortalia. And then there is a bunch of various demi-human and furries. Yeah, you can consider it kind of the furry district. Kind of. In a way, yeah. That's kind of what it is. It's the furry district. Let's see, what else? There's also the, I talked about Flame's Tavern, kind of. Or at least I said what it was, that it was there. Uh, Technically, that's about it, because it's mostly just houses and shops for the rest of that district. Let's see. I know there's more to it, though. Bloom has his training ground. Oh yeah, there's a castle there that you can go visit. It's nice for almost all year round to visit. The seasons do kind of change, but not much. It just feels a little warmer, a little colder. Most of the time, the whole of Immortalia itself acclimates to the person depending on the district you're in. But the Wolven district does change seasons every now and then. Alright. Next we'll go to from the Wolven district, which is to the northeast and covers kind of the north and eastern gate, kind of. It's a bit wonky how it is having 3 districts and 4 gates, but it mostly covers that area nonetheless. Then, let's see. So leaving the Wolven district, heading to the west, or no wait, heading to the south, we will find ourselves in the Dark's district. Or as I like to call it, the Shadow District. Now, Dark is a very fun and interesting individual. You see, he is known as the Dark Angel, a kind of, not really a fallen angel, but alright, how I like to describe him and the creature that gives him his power. Think of kind of Venom, but Venom is Japanese in a way. Think of that. That's probably the easiest way I can describe Dark and his abilities. In the best way I can without over explaining it. But that's kind of how he is. He is just that. What else is there in Dark's district? There's his zoo, which is full of just various various monstrosities from different fandoms, as well as... Sorry, I was crafting stuff and trying to not die. There is also his little bar where he himself makes drinks based off mine and his travels, and sometimes the travels we share together. There is also a little, like a spooky haunted mansion type thing, but it's actually really nice inside there. But that's his house. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, for Flaum, Leonidas, and Blatheme, they actually live inside of Flaum's tavern, which is called the Wolves' Den. It's a small, inside is a small, quaint... Yeah, I'm jumping back to the Wolven District. Sorry. But inside of the Wolves' Den, there is... Think of, like, your average D&D style tavern that every party meets in. A bard playing music, a tavern keep, which is Flaum, giving drinks and food to the patrons, and also a couple areas for a couple rooms to stay the night for those just visiting. Of course, there is various hotels and lodging within Immortalia. Then there is And now we're jumping back to Dark's area. Dark's mansion, which houses him and the other 7 Dark Angels. Yes, he is not the first, but he's the one that's more prominent within Immortalia. The other 7 tend to stay in their home dimensions and deal with things there, while Dark's the one who more ventures out and does his random stuff. And again, I'll get to them when I let them tell their story. For now, it's mainly just a lay of the land and a lay of my lore. Anyways, continuing on in our little tour of Immortalia. As we continue around, going past the western gate, we now arrive in Glitch's area, the Glitch District. Although we pass what is called the Neon Light District, which is halfway between Dark's and halfway between Glitch's district. I won't go much into that for various reasons. It's just another district that's kind of theirs, but also has other beings running it that I'm not going to mention quite yet. But the 2 beings that run it are shown in my shorts, but I'll leave you to figure out which ones they are. But moving into Glitch's district, we will find his workshop, and which is attached to his kind of Chuck E. Cheese style restaurant. It's an arcade, but he sells pizza, he has animatronics and robots, various shows and performances, but it's all technological and cybery and sci-fi themed stuff. But it's kind of got various robots walking around in various costumes, outfits. They aren't in any particular way to show you what they do. They're all just various designs that he has walking around. But he is kind of based in a bit of FNAF lore. I will leave you with that bit from him and let him explain more of his lore and story. But he has the animatronics that walk around, which also perform and just do a lot of different things. They're mainly designed with some purpose in mind, but you can never tell until they actually are needing to do that purpose. Let's see. There is also what else was in Glitch's thing? Oh yeah, the place where you can get various cybernetic implants and various other modifications that are technological. I don't know much of the stuff behind it. That's Glitch's thing to explain. But it's all just kind of sci-fi is all you need. The baseline of it all is just he's sci-fi themed. So cybernetic stuff, lasers, lights, neon lights, flashy stuff, technological stuff everywhere, some steampunk, some giant robots, mech suits, all that fun stuff is all found within Glitch's district. Then moving back to Darks again, I'm going to be jumping between the districts. It's kind of just you're technically in a tour where I say all this stuff as we look at it in the districts, but to the viewer itself, it's going to be broken up into a kind of, oh yes, I remembered this thing I forgot to mention when we were in that district. It's broken up, it's chaotic, that's just how I am. But anyways, continuing with what I was going to say, in Flaum's district, and kind of Dark's too, it depends on what you're looking for. There are various magic shops that sell books, that sell components for magic spells, various different things. But Immortalia itself is just a place where you'll find anything you want, be anything you want, and see almost anything you want. It's a place where anyone can be anything they wish to be, where your freedom is only limited by your desire to be free. But then I guess I can talk about, since that's kind of it for all I can think of on the land itself, I can talk about our weapons and some little basic tidbits about each of us that I'm willing to say myself, but not let them say yet. Or they'd probably say in the future, but some stuff about them before, about their dimensions, kind of, before they say it and talk about it. So, first, I'll start with Flaum, Leonidas, and Letheme. It'll mainly be Flaum telling their story. Letheme and Leonidas are Flaum's brothers. They're twins, and they're both younger than Flaum. Flaum, as you probably guessed from watching some of the shorts, is the Flame Wolf. He's the immortal of passion. So the fiery passion that burns inside of you to either do something, to act, or create something. He is the passion. He represents the passion within a person. Their desire to do something, to be something. Just in general, he is the representation of passion in itself. Not any particular form of passion, just the fiery passion that burns within a person. His words, not mine. Then there is Glitch, who is the immortal energy. The energy that a person uses to create, to imagine, to be, to put your ideas into, to have an idea, and then put the energy itself towards that idea. It represents that, kind of like the work itself. It represents the work that a person puts into something they want to create. That's what he is. Then there is Dark. Now, he himself kind of represents the unknown. That desire to explore, to hunt, to figure out something, and to go somewhere you don't know. That's what the Dark Angel represents, that desire to explore a bit. Now, they don't physically act the way I'm describing. That's just what their powers represent, and why they were granted said powers. Or their primordial essence, which is the name of what all of our powers stem from, that's kind of the name of the essence that gives us our powers, is that primordial essence. And why it chose the 5 of us to have the powers we currently have. So, now to go on to their dimensions a bit, and to give some background information before they start speaking. Flaum's dimension And this is just a tidbit fact that won't exactly be relevant or brought up by him, but I feel like it's important to state nonetheless. Flame's dimension is actually one steeped a bit closer to reality for me, because it's where my uncle and my brother have been playing in worlds that I DM for them, for our D&D worlds, when I play D&D with my brother and uncle. So it's still got stuff that you may pop up that came from my brother and uncle's campaigns and one-shots that I've put them through. But that will not be stated, and only they'll know what's in there. But the realm itself is... the land itself is called Magium, a place where magic flows abundant. It's a wild world, an untamed land that's just beautiful and chaotic in itself. Where adventure always is just around the corner, and where tomorrow you don't know what you could be doing next, or what could be at your window. Dark's dimension consists of many different phantoms that I have as its baseline. Kind of like a timeline of sorts, where I've strung different fandoms together to make a congruent, a flowing timeline between all of them. But his thing I'll have to figure out how to say without kind of digging into other fandoms' lore and then infringing on that, more or less. Because I don't want to get copyright struck, which is not fun in the slightest. But his lore will take a while for me to get talking about for those reasons. Let's see. Glitches. Place is kind of just FNAF. In general, it's just FNAF for most of his lore. After kind of he tells the beginning, it goes into a heavy amount of FNAF lore. But it kind of starts out explaining to you some of his history. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Ooh, yeah. Let's see. Other things I can tell you about Immortalia. Well, because I've kind of mentioned a tidbit of what their world's going to entail when they tell their stories. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Let's see. I could definitely... I guess I could quickly describe our weaponry. So, for my weapon, handcrafted by yours truly, it is a combination of all 5 of my Immortals weapons. Because we have Flaum, who uses a double-bladed sword. We have Dark, who uses a double-sided scythe. You know, those scythes that point in opposite directions, and you hold and spin around the middle. He has that. Then there's Glitch, who has a cool fantasy spear type weapon. And then there is also the twins, which have stuff similar to their older brother of a double-bladed sword. And then, actually, Flume has what's kind of like a giant shuriken, but it's actually just like a four-bladed sword that he wields in kind of those cool, in a very cool fashion. It isn't meant to be thrown, but it's got like a spinning handle that allows him to spin it and double it as a shield and such to deflect projectiles and such. Then there's also well, the weapons actually weren't that much. That's kind of it for the weaponry. Next, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you. Because I'm just going to ramble about all of our stuff and all the things that, that I and my fellow mortals have at our disposal. To kind of just explain everything to you in a somewhat digestible format or in the best way possible. Depends on how well I can explain this stuff. Yeah. Nice. Various good loot. Let's see, what else can I talk about states? There is kind of powers they'll explain. What else? Because the powers, they'll explain themselves. Technically, we all have our own vehicles, but we don't really use them since we can all teleport and fly. We use them when we want to look cool. Or if we just feel bored and want to drive around a place. What else? There's a couple of other immortals that I haven't shown, but those are mainly for me and my friends, which are all also have their own canon forms, so to speak, within Immortalia. Same as my siblings, but I won't get too much into their forms or anything like that. But everyone who has been close to me has a form within Immortalia. Even though I haven't told some people that it exists, they still have a existence within it. Then there is also... Let's see, what else can I talk about? I guess that's kind of it for this lore dump. Expected it to last a while, but I don't know how long this recording has gone. It's lasted almost an hour, but I think that's all in this lore dump. Until then, may freedom find you fortunate. Farewell, y'all.